Greetings, students, and welcome back to the English class. Now, what we will do? We will do question and answers of landscape of the soul. Now, question number one: contrast the Chinese view of art with European view with examples. The Chinese view of art is trying to achieve the essence of inner life and spirit. Du Waozi's painting was an example of this. तो ये तो हमको पता है कि क्या कर रहे हैं, चाइनीज व्यू कर रहे थे, राइट. नाउ वू डाउजीज पेंटिंग was an example of this. The European view of art is to create illusionistic likeness. That is, Quentin Mitze's painting of the fly was the example of this. So this is very easy. Now next question is explain the concept of shanshui. Okay. Now what does it say? That explain the concept of shanshui. Now shanshui literally means mountain and water, which when used together represents the language which when used together represents the word landscape. Okay children. Okay, next, it reflects the Taoist view of the universe, which includes more than two elements of any image, that is yang, the mountain, yin, the water, and the third element, the middle void. Void means empty, where the two interact. उसने बोला है कि शांशुई को एक्सप्लेन करें, तो शांशुई का मतलब क्या होता है, वाटर एंड माउंटेन, और ये क्या है, इन दोनों का इंटरेक्शन को यूनिवर्स में बोलते हैं. यांग द माउंटेन, वाटर इज द यिन द वाटर, और इनका जो बीच का जहाँ पर ये दोनों मिलते हैं उसको बोलते हैं मिडिल वॉइड. What do you understand by the terms outsiders art or art and art brut or raw art? Outsiders art is the art created by artists who have received no formal training, yet they show the talent and artistic insight. ठीक है. आउटसाइडर्स आर्ट वो होते हैं जिन्होंने कोई फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग, कोई कॉलेज वॉलेज में कोई फॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग नहीं होती है, बट दे शो दे टैलेंट एंड आर्टिस्टिक इंसाइट. Art brut or raw art is about works of art that were in their raw state with regard to their cultural and artistic influence. Anything like a broken teacup or a bangle could be the material of work of art. Okay. Now question number 2 with second part. Who was the untutored genius who created a paradise, and what is the nature of the contribution of art? Nek Chand, belonging to Chandigarh, was the untutored genius who created a paradise many years ago by building rock garden there using stones, broken crockery, and recycled material. Nek Chand's contribution is a highly creative example of raw art. Now, talking about the text, discuss the following statement in groups of 4. The emperor may rule over the territory he conquered, but only the artist knows the way within. इसका मतलब क्या? The sentence explains the fact even though an emperor might rule an entire kingdom and have a power over the conquered territory, only an artistic would be able to go beyond an unmaterial appearance. He knows both the path and method of the mysterious work of the universe. True meaning of this work can be seen only by the means known to him, irrespective of how powerful an emperor is. Right? Now next we have the landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. So this phrase explains the Chinese art form where a Chinese painter wants to enter his mind rather than borrow his eyes. There is a physical as well as mental participation. It is a land created by the artist to travel up and down and back and again through the viewer's eyes. The landscape is not real and can be reached from any point. Now, landscape of the soul. Thinking about the language. 2 questions है इसमें. Find out the correlates of yin and yang. That is YANG. In other cultures. In other cultures. Yang पर थोड़ा सा line होगा children. ठीक है. द इंडियन कल्चर ले स्ट्रेस ऑन नेचर एंड गॉड. ठीक है, वो क्या बोलते हैं, जो इंडियन कल्चर है वो किस पे ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस ले करता है, नेचर और गॉड पे. नेचर इज द येन और फीमेल पार्ट, वेर एज गॉड इज द क्रिएटर इज द मेल पार्ट. द कॉन्सेप्ट इज नोन एज माया और ब्रह्मा. The combination of creates, sorry, the combination of creates the world, whole world, all its object and also inhabitants. What is the language spoken in Flanders? Three languages are spoken in different areas of Flanders: modern Belgium, Dutch, French, and German. Okay. Now, landscape of the soul working with words, that is panel, studio, brush, essence, and material. Examine the following sets of sentence to find out what words panel and essence means in different contexts. Now, first, the mass from village in Mali looks like young panel of decorated wood. Okay, or now we will. The meaning are flatboards. Second, group of men selected to give uh, an ammunition verdict on a long case. Now we will do the first part of it, a part of it. तो पहला है, the mass of from Bawa village in Mali look like long panels of decorated meaning, the decorated wood. So the meaning are flat boards. Judge H. Hubbard grooms told the jury panel he had heard the reports. Group of men selected to give an ambiguous verdict of legal case. ठीक है, तो वो पैनल आ रहा है इसमें बार बार, राइट. द ग्लास panels of the window were broken. Small to decide something matter, that is section, right. A glass panel of the wood were broken, right. Small group of people made to decide some matter. Then through the many round tables, workshop and panel discussion, a consensus was reached, that is sections. Then we have section, sorry. Children, this is the fourth answer. The glass panels of the wooden window was broken will be sections. Here we will have sections, children. Okay, we will have sections. Okay, through the many round table workshops, that is group. The sink in the hingled panel above the bunk drains into the head, again that is sections. Okay, so we have what do you call it, sections, group, and again sections. Now let's come to, sorry, B part of it. Let's come to B part of it. Where is it? Okay, the representative structure, it says the representative structure must have taught the people around the great composer an essence of music, right. Now we have essence. The meaning are basic character and quality. Part of the answer is in the propositions, but the essence is in the meaning, so that is the essence part. The implication of these schools of thought are of practical essence of the teacher. Importance. They have added vanilla essence to the pudding, extract from a plant or something or other substance used for flavoring, right? Now find 5 sentences each for the rest of the words to show the different sense in which each of them is used. The answer is studio. The artist is working in his studio at home. ठीक है, 5 sentences देने हैं ना. The photographer's studio was full of his own photographs only. Kavita is learning classical dance at the dance studio in Dwarka. All the actors in this scene must report in the film studio for shooting at 9 a.m. James lives in a studio apartment in Mumbai. Now brush. We should brush our teeth twice a day. Malvika is brushing a pink shape on her painting to complete it. A brush with death on the road is common for pedestrians in Delhi. Squirrels brushes are used by expert painters for painting specific areas of a painting. In an electric motor, graphite brushes are used to connect its coil with the electric material supply. Material. Most persons today wants only material pressure. Raw material for constructing earth-proof building is very expensive. Our winter trip is to experience the snow in Shimla never materialized. The selection committee members felt that Sunil was test match material, so they selected him. Comedy was an important material used by Shakespeare in many of his plays. Now, landscape of the soul, noticing form. Uh, a Chinese, a classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view, as would a Western figurative painting. Whereas the European painting wants you to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he was. Okay? Some from a specific angle, the Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. The above examples are vain in which contrast may be expressed. Combine the following sets of ideas to show contrast between them. Question number 1. European art tries to achieve a perfect illusionistic likeness. While European art tries to achieve a perfect illusionistic likeness, Asian art tries to capture the essence of inner life and spirit. Okay. Now, second question. The emperor commissions a painting and appreciates its outer appearance, or the artist reveals to him the true meaning of his art. Even though an emperor commissions means order a painting and appreciates its outer appearance, it is the artist who reveals to him the true meaning of his work. Now, question number 3. The emperor may rule over the territory he has conquered. The artist shows the way within. That means, even though the emperor rules over the territory he has conquered, it is the artist who knows the way within. Landscape of the soul, things to do. Find out about as many Indian schools of painting as you can. Write a short note in the distinctive features of each school that you can do for yourself. This one also. Find out an experiment. You have to do these questions on your own. Okay. Now, these are short questions. Okay. What was depicted in the last painting made by Wu Daozi, the Chinese painter? The last painting made by Wu Daozi depicted forest, high mountains, waterfall, clouds floating in an immense sky, men on hilly paths, birds in flight, and a cave at the foot of a mountain in which a supernatural being resided. Question number 2. When Wu Daozi showed the way to a Chinese emperor, what happened? When Wu Daozi said that the emperor, please let me show your majesty the way, the painter entered the cave and its entrance closed behind him. Before the surprised emperor could move or say something, the painting had vanished from the wall. Even the painter's brush had disappeared. What do the books about Confucius and Zhuangzi contain, and what do they help in doing? The books about Confucius and Zhuangzi contain many anecdotes. Anecdotes are small stories that deeply reveal the spirit in which art was considered in these days. These anecdotes helped the masters to guide their disciples in the right direction. What is the anecdote about a dragon's eye mentioned in Chinese literature? The anecdote about the dragon's eye mentioned in Chinese literature says that a painter who had painted the image of a dragon did not want to complete it by drawing the dragon's eyes. तो उसको पूरा क्या करना, complete नहीं करना था by making a dragon's eye. The reason was that dragon would be able to fly out of the painting and may be able to attack the poet. Why did the Flemish painter accept Quentin Metzi as a son-in-law? ठीक है, पहले तो मान नहीं रहे थे because he was a blacksmith. Earlier Quentin Metze was a blacksmith, ठीक है, which was not considered as a respectable profession. However, when Quentin showed his talent in painting by drawing a very realistic looking fly on the panel on which the artist was painting. Quentin was enrolled on the artistic apprentice and later accepted as a son in law. What do the stories, one about China and the other about Flanders, illustrate? These two stories, one about China and other about Flanders, illustrates what each of these forms of art is trying to achieve. ठीक है कि एक दोनों आर्ट में डिफरेंस क्या अचीव करने की कोशिश कर रहे. The Flanders form illustrate a perfect illusionistic likeness, while as Chinese form illustrates the essence of inner life and spirit. What is the difference between Chinese emperor and the artist in the anecdote? The difference between the Chinese emperor and the artistic was that while the emperor ordered a painting and appreciated its outer appearance, the artistic revealed to him the true meaning of his work. The emperor may rule over territory he has conquered, but only the artist knows the way within. What was an European painter want from the viewer? What does a European painter want from a viewer? A European painter wants the viewer to borrow his eyes, looks at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. His painting is very realistic and he expects the viewer to understand it by just looking at it. What does a Chinese painter want from his viewer? A Chinese painter does not want the viewer to choose a single viewpoint. His landscape is not real one and you can enter it from any point and then travel in it. The artists create a path for the viewer's eyes to travel up and down, then back again in a leisurely movement. What does a horizontal scroll add a dimension of time to a painting? In case of horizontal scroll, the action of slowly opening one action of the painting, then rolling it up to move on the other sections one by one, adds a dimensions of time to a painting. How is Chinese painter painting a depiction of conceptual space? The Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes just to view the painting. He wants you to enter his mind because the landscape is an inner one, a depiction of spiritual and conceptual space. What are the two complementary poles in Shanshui? The two complementary poles in Shanshui are reflecting the Taoist view of the universe. One pole is the mountain, known as the Yang, meaning reaching vertical towards heaven, which signifies stability, warmth, and dryness, while the other pole is the water, known as Yin, meaning horizontal and resting on the earth, while signifying fluidity, moistness, and coolness. What is the fundamental notion of Taoism? The fundamental notion of Taoism is the universe is composed of two complementary poles, yin, feminine, and yang, masculine. The intersection of these two energies, yin, the receptive, and the counterpart of yang, the active, makes the universe. What is the mid void? What is the mid void? मतलब जो middle void है, जो empty space है, इसको क्या बोलते हैं? Why it is called middle void? क्या होता है? The mid void is the blank space where the two complementary elements, yang and yin, meet. This is usually overlooked with the viewer must actively participate in the painting. Without the middle void, the viewer can't take an active part in the painting and it will be just like the European painting. What is pranayam? During which stage of pranayam does meditation takes place? Pranayam is conscious awareness of breath, which is a part of yogic exercise. It consists of three parts: breathe in, suspend the breath, and breathe out. Meditation occurs during the suspension of breath during the middle path. What does man act as a conduit of communication? Man acts as conduit of communication between both the poles of the universe, heaven and earth, because his presence is essential, even if it is only suggestive to bridge the gap between them. Now let us do long question answers. There are only some of them. Briefly recount what happened to the painter Wu Daozi in the character Landscape of the Soul. The 8th century Chinese painter Wu Daozi was commissioned by the Tang Emperor Wanzong to paint a landscape painting to decorate a wall palace. The master painter had hidden the painting behind a screen so that only the emperor could see it when desired. For quite some time, the emperor admired the landscape containing forest, high mountains, waterfall, clouds floating in an eminence sky, big men on hilly paths, and flying birds. Then the painter pointed out a cave painted by him at the foot of the mountains and told the emperor that the spirit lived in that cave. When the painter clapped his hand, the entrance of the cave opened. Then the painter explained that the inside of the cave was really worth seeing and offered to show the way to enter the cave. But as soon as Wu Daozi entered the cave, the entrance closed behind him before the surprised emperor could move or say anything. The landscape painting vanished from the wall. Not even the painter's brush remained. In fact, Wu Daozi was never seen again. The landscape had been his last painting. How was Quantum Metze able to marry painter's daughter? Quantum Metze, a master blacksmith in the 15th century, Antwerp, fell in love with painter's daughter. Quentin realized that his profession was not considered respectable, and thus the painter would never allow Quantum to marry his daughter. Thus, he had to impress the painter with his creative talent first. As Quantum possessed determination to achieve his desired goal, he entered the painter's studio secretly when the painter was not there, and painted a very realistic looking fly on the painter's last panel. Later on, when the painter entered his studio and saw the fly, he tried to swat means hit it before he realized that it was not a real fly. On finding out who had painted the fly, which with such a delicate realism, he asked Quantum to become his apprentice, that is, trainee, as the painter realized that Quantum possessed artistic talent. Thus, Quantum was able to marry the painter's daughter and go on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. What explain the concept of Shanshui painting? Shanshui painting is not a normal kind of painting. First of all, when Chinese painters work on a Shanshui painting, they do not try to present an image of what they have seen in future, but what they have thought about the nature. Shanshui painting does not use color, light and shadow or personal brush work with conventional paints. Instead, Shanshui painting uses a brush and ink. Mountain, rivers and also waterfalls are prominent in the art form. In Shanshui painting, two elements of the image represent two complementary poles, just like the Taoist view of the universe. The mountain is yang, meaning it's active and masculine. It is a stable, warm and dry in the sun. The other pole is a water or yin, meaning it is horizontal, resting on earth, fluid, moist and cool. The interaction of yin, the receptive feminine aspect of universal energy, and its counterpart yang, is the fundamental notion of Taoism. The essential elements of the middle void where yin and yang interact is man, as he becomes the conduit of communication between both the complementary poles. Thank you, children. These are the questions that were very important as well as from the behind of the book. Thank you, children.